And now, our feature presentation.
Welcome to the first ever Millennial Milkshake draft. My name is Colin O'Connell. I was born in 1994, and I will be representing Team Milk.
My name is Josh Zakali. I was born in 1995, and I will be the leader of Team Cream.
My name is Michelle Potter. I was born in 1997, and I will be representing Team Cherry today.
And it's our first ever draft, and what we are doing is a little different from a normal episode. We'll explain the rules and everything, but just want to get the topic out ahead of time. We are drafting Disney animated movies, and I couldn't be more excited. Guys, excited?
So excited. Let's go.
For reference, it is 1:20 in the morning.
Let's go.
So, in case anyone's wondering, here's how this is going to work. We are going to be essentially trying to build the best team of Disney animated movies that we can. However, we can only select one movie per the decade or age or time range that we've selected. So, for instance, we have decided to go with the 2010s, the 2000s, the 1990s, the 1980s, the 60s to the 70s, and the 30s to the 50s. So we're all going to pick a movie from those eras, but we're going to do it in a draft, in a what is it? A snake draft order, a rollover draft order, which means that there will be the first pick, the second pick, and then the third pick will pick twice in a row. And then it'll go back to the second pick, then the first pick will pick twice in a row, and so on and so forth until we all have movies from each decade. Once you pick a movie from a decade, that decade is closed off to you, or an era. That is closed off to you. You can no longer pick movies from that era again. So let's say you pick, I don't know, Chicken Little in the 2000s. You can no longer select a movie from the 2000s. All right. We're also not including Mary Poppins or Chicken Little. Chicken Little's included. We're not including Mary Poppins or Who Framed Roger Rabbit because while there is definitely animation in those movies, the live action element is just too much to ignore. And we're also not including Pixar movies or direct-to-video sequels. These are purely Disney animated feature films. Guys, did I explain that concisely enough?
Yeah, that was perfect.
Yes. So just one question, just to clarify something. So just if someone picks a movie from the 2000s, that the 2000s is closed off to everybody, right?
No. The
it's not.
2000s
Okay.
is closed off to the person that picked it. Everyone has to get a movie from the era. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we'll all have six
cool.
movies by the time it's done. So how... Yeah.
So we're not... So... If whoever goes first, they don't have to pick from the 40s or 50s first?
Mm-mm.
No, they can pick wherever they want.
Yeah, this changes a lot.
Oh,
you
wow.
pick wherever you want, but if
I'm ready.
Let's say you pick a movie from the 90s, you can no longer pick a movie from the 90s, but the other people can and will have to at some point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So we put our names in a randomizer before we started recording, and Josh can decide where he came out on top. So he gets to decide where he wants to draft.
This is the crucial move for Team Cream. This is where we win.
So Team Cream can pick the first, second, or third pick in the draft.
I'm going with first.
All right. Josh is taking the first pick. I came in second in the randomizer. Team Milk. I'm going to take the third pick. I'm going to take the wraparound pick, which means that Michelle and Team Cherry, you will have the second overall pick. You have the sandwich pick. All right?
All right.
So whenever we're ready, Josh.
So I guess,
Okay.
You're on the clock.
Are we ready?
Oh, there's a time limit?
How much time?
No.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
is there 10 seconds?
No,
was
we'll
about to
just
say.
kind of, if you're taking too long, we'll just kind of push you along.
So, Team Cream's first draft pick will go to the 80s with Little Mermaid.
Yep. I mean, it's the clear number one pick, right?
Was that yours?
Yeah, looking at the 80s, the
There's
80s
nothing.
is barren outside of The Little Mermaid. Yeah, you had to get that number one. That's the pick to make. And that, yes, absolutely good, great pick.
When I saw that 80s roster, I was like, oh, I have to go with the Mermaid.
Just a weak decade. Yeah.
Oh, when you said number one pick, you meant, okay. See, when we were planning this, I thought we had to do it each decade. We each pick from the decade and then, okay. I got it. It's my turn then?
Yep.
It is your turn to pick, yes.
So tough. Okay, I'm going to go with my first instinct. I'm going to go with the 60s and 70s. And I'm going to go The Jungle Book.
All right. Nice pick.
Okay. That's an interesting pick to me.
Kind of throwing me off a little bit.
Definitely. I won't go too far into how I feel about the 60s and 70s, but I mean, Jungle Book is solid. So that means I get 2 picks now back to back. This is tough now because I think I have to go. I think I have to go to the 2010s here, which is a decent decade, but I think it does have a clear number one to me. I'm taking, with my first pick, I'm going to take Moana from the 2010s.
Nice pick. Solid.
Mm-hmm.
Just...
Very good.
The music, everything. I mean, it's just, wonderful movie. And there are other movies in the decade that I like. Don't get me wrong. In fact, there's a movie I like more, but I don't think it's a better movie. Keeping that there. And then this is where it gets really tough. My second pick. You know what? I'm just going to hop on down to the 2000s. And I think I'm going to take The Princess and the Frog.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Just because, again, there are some movies I think are fine in this decade and like underrated movies, but I don't know. To me, it's the clear number one of this decade, and I'm going for value. So, Michelle, it's your turn.
So, I'm gonna go to the 2000s, and I'm gonna go with Fantasia 2000.
Ooh, okay. Not on my board. Gotta be honest. I mean, we can discuss the 2000s now because I took mine, Michelle took yours. So now Josh, if he wants to, he can just sit on the 2000s until I thought she was going Emperor's New Groove in 2000s.
That movie is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I'm just gonna sit on it.
Yeah,
thank God.
I mean, you can pick whatever you want there now.
Michelle, you saved me. I was going with 2000s next because I needed to get that decade out.
But now you don't have to. There were 3 clear to me in the 2000s, and I'm sorry, Michelle. One of them was none of them was Fantasia 2000.
I was stuck between Lilo and Stitch.
That was one of my top 3, definitely. All right, Josh.
I gotta think about this now.
Go for it.
What's gonna be the wisest choice?
Prime position.
I'm really okay with a couple decades, like waiting because there's a few picks, but
so you get 2 back to back here.
Oh, do I still get 2 back to back?
You get 2 back to back. Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought number one just got 1 all the time. Okay, cool.
No, you get 2 back to back.
All right, cool. Then I'm gonna get the 2010s out of the way.
Okay.
I was a little relieved when Colin picked his because wouldn't be my number one. I don't know. I'm not too big on it, but this is, in my opinion, the best of the 2010s. We're gonna go with Zootopia. I think that one is the clear winner of the 2010s. But 2010s was pretty solid for.
Very interesting.
I like Zootopia a lot. 2010s are kind of tough because there's just a lot of quality there. Yeah, Zootopia is a good pick. Definitely had it in my top 3 for the decade. My only concern is a little too long. Kids kind of get bored, and it doesn't really have any songs to it.
That's fine for me. Like, we'll talk about it when the draft is over.
But it's not. It's definitely a top 3 in that decade for me. So that was, I think, a good pick.
Now this is where it gets tough. I just need to pick a good decade. or decades if I'm going to go with a pair.
This is fun, isn't it, guys?
Actually,
this
is good. Oh, I know. Oh, easy. We're going to go with the 60s and 70s, and I am stealing that Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh,
I knew
Josh,
you were going to get that one.
That was my number one of that era.
Yep.
Just classic.
And as Michelle probably knows, Winnie the Pooh is my all-time favorite cartoon character.
Good, very good pick. All right, Michelle.
Back to you, Michelle.
It is now your turn. Once more.
Oof.
You picked in the 60s and 70s, and in the 2000s, you can pick anywhere else.
Okay. I'm going to make this decision at the last second. I'm going to go to the, what is it, the 30s to the 50s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
And to the 30s through the 50s, I'm going to go with Bambi.
Bambi. All right. Now, it is worth noting, this definitely, I think it has the largest number, sheer just volume of movies. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to really pin down, like, you know, a lot of these. But Bambi, I mean, listen, Bambi's well remembered. So I am shocked right now that this decade has been untouched. And okay, I'm not too shocked because it's a very, very clear, like, a decade you can wait on. But we're kind of midway through the draft. I think I have to go in on it. I have to go to the 90s with this pick. I'm taking Lion King. I think Lion King is the number one movie. It's not the number one pick because of the 80s factor, but I think it's the number one overall movie, if that makes sense to me.
That's fair. Definitely won't argue too much there. 90s, I'm really okay with a bunch.
Yeah, 90s is really, really good. But I just, at this point, I needed that splash.
Yeah, you need a stronghold.
I needed a splash. Here's where it gets interesting. So you both took 60s and 70s. So I have to sit there. I need to take my top value from the 30s to the 50s. I know we were discussing it earlier, what the number one princess movie was, but I think I have to deviate from that a little bit. And I think I have to go with, I think, the most iconic Disney princess movie, which is Cinderella. I mean, they have a freaking castle at Disney World built to its memory.
Solid pick, Colin.
The 30s and 50s are really hard.
That's probably the hardest. I'll be honest. That just has the most packed into it.
Okay, Michelle, it is your turn to pick.
All right. Right. I'm going to go to the 90s. And this is so tough. Oof. Okay, I'm going to go to the 90s and stick to my heart on this one a little bit and go with Mulan.
Mulan was my... Go ahead.
Michelle, you have in my eyes, you've saved me a lot in this draft. I'll be honest. So I'm going to clear out the air here. I'm just going to get the 90s out of the way and go with my number 2. Colin got my number 1 pick from that, but that's okay because a close second for me from the 90s is Beauty and the Beast. I think when you're talking about Disney films, you know, that's, I mean, maybe top 5, especially for, you know, I think storytelling, I think is very strong in that movie, but we'll go more into that when we get into our debates.
So when it came into the 90s, I had a clear 1, 2, 3. And then the 4 and the 5 were kind of neck and neck. My number 1 was Lion King. My number 2, which is now going to be unpicked, is Aladdin. My number 3 was Beauty and the Beast. Yep. I thought those were the clear top 3. And I thought that Mulan and Hercules were kind of battling it out for that 4th spot.
Mm-hmm.
But
Aladdin was my number 3.
No, Mulan and Hercules are battling in my mind.
So I'll be honest.
Better than Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. Tarzan's up there for me.
I like Tarzan, but I don't think it's as good as Mulan and Hercules.
Probably not.
I think it's kind of clear cut underneath. But, I mean, for me, it was Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. I think you can debate Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin a little bit. But
yeah, I agree.
I mean, those are my 3. That's why I thought you could sit on the 90s for so long.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was going to make that my last if I needed to, because I'm fine with those 3.
It's a great decade.
So, I'm just going to get what I need to get out of the way. 30s through the 50s, and I'm very, very happy with this, because for me, it's clear cut. Snow White and the 7 Dwarves.
There it is.
Top tier Disney right there.
Interesting. Michelle and I went away from that, like actively went away from Snow White because it was there for both of us. Neither one of us took it though. Interesting. So Michelle, it is now your turn again.
Yeah, the 80s is tough because there's one movie that was a huge part of my childhood, but I know that it's not great. And the other two, I don't really know that well. So I'm going to go... Oh, yeah, I'm going to go the 80s, oof, God, this kills me. The Fox and the Hound.
Yeah, 80s is really tough. I mean, after Little Mermaid, there's not much there. And I have to... These are my last two picks, so I have to go to the 80s. Oh, you guys left me with not much in that decade.
Would that have been your second pick, Colin?
It's definitely between two. It was between Fox and the Hound and the other one that I'm going to take with my last pick. Before I get there, 60s and 70s. This was the biggest wild card decade for me. Wasn't really sure where to go. However, my number one pick from the 60s and 70s, I can't believe it, is still there. I'm picking 101 Dalmatians.
It's a good choice.
I don't think there's a clear disparity between much of these movies in this decade. You guys picked great ones. I mean, Winnie the Pooh and Jungle Book are great ones. And I love Robin Hood and I love Aristocats too. So leaving those off does sting, but I think 101 Dalmatians is the more iconic Disney film, especially with Cruella de Vil, that villain, one of the best villains ever. Now I have to pick my 80s. Oh, geez, guys. I mean, you left me with nothing. So I'm just gonna say I'm picking The Great Mouse Detective. It's a niche pick, but I mean, there's nothing else here. It's either Black Cauldron or Oliver and Company, and suck.
Yeah, The Black Cauldron was one of my favorite movies growing up. But I know if I watched it now, it would be not very good.
And I think that Oliver and Company has one of my favorite Disney songs ever. Why Should I Worry? Billy Joel, great. But just as a movie, it's all over the place. Great Mouse Detective is not something I'm going to put on a lot. Let's just be honest. It's the punter of my team. So, Michelle, you're making your final pick.
Yeah. So there is a film that has been so underrated. However, the best movie left. This is 2010s. I'm going to go Tangled.
Wow.
I was afraid for you that you were going to go with Frozen.
I'm surprised.
You went Tangled for you.
I was between Tangled and Big Hero 6.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised no one went with Wreck-It Ralph for a third pick.
Wreck-It Ralph was on there, but not in my top 3 for the decade.
I think I like Wreck-It Ralph more than Moana, honestly.
Oh.
Yeah, I can pick a couple standout things from Moana. I really don't know what it is about this movie that everybody just gravitated to. The music was really good. Well,
it's got The Rock in it.
Some of the songs are really good. Listen, I'm not big on The Rock. I'll be honest. He's solid. He's solid for being an action star, but I think he's very limited, to be honest. But
it also has Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords in it. So
listen, that movie has visuals and it has some good songs.
Oh my god, the water is gorgeous in that movie.
Incredible.
It is, but that's not going to save the movie for me, to be honest. I think it's a very basic movie.
No. Oh my god, Josh. All right, we're going to get into it because you took Snow White and you're talking about basic movies.
I'll talk to you about I'll talk to you about Revolutionary is what I'll talk to you about Snow White.
All right.
And I'll talk to you about visuals of Snow White.
Josh, you've got one more pick to make.
2000s. Emperor's New Groove.
It was between that and Stitch for me.
Yeah.
For that second
New
pick.
Groove takes it from me between those two.
Okay, so I'm just going to read off each person's roster. Ready? Josh, a.k.a. Team Cream, has The Little Mermaid from the 80s, Zootopia from the 2010s, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh from the 60s to the 70s, Beauty and the Beast from the 1990s, Snow White from the 30s to 50s, and The Emperor's New Groove from the 2000s. Michelle from Team Cherry has The Jungle Book from the 60s to 70s, Fantasia 2000 from the 2000s, Bambi from the 30s to 50s, Mulan from the 90s, Fox and the Hound from the 80s, and Tangled from the 2010s. Colin, me, from Team Milk, has Moana from the 2010s, Princess and the Frog from the 2000s, The Lion King from the 1990s, Cinderella from the 30s to the 50s, 101 Dalmatians from the 60s to the 70s, and The Great Mouse Detective from the 80s. So what do we think?
What's to be said first? Let's see here.
Okay. So I'm sorry, Michelle, but I just don't see it.
I do apologize. I do think Michelle has the weakest team. I was a little bamboozled with some of the decisions that were made on her side. The Fantasia 2000 really threw me off.
Completely threw me. Which I get it. The 2000s isn't a great decade, but it's an okay decade, and I just don't think it's a memorable enough movie to kind of stick through.
See, I watched that. I mean, well, I was actually surprised that you guys had Emperor's New Groove so high on your list. Like, I love that movie, and I watch it quite often, but I didn't.
For me, it's process of elimination.
It's one of the funniest Disney movies there is, though. Like, it just is.
I didn't think you guys held it, like, high in your minds.
I really don't, but I do like that more than Stitch. I think it's better. And Colin got Princess and the Frog, which is probably the best of that year. Decade. Other than that, there's really not much there for me. Could never confidently go with Chicken Little, so I'm sorry, little guy.
Yeah, 2000s was weird. They were in that transition where, are they going to do 3D animation? Are they going to do 2D animation? They're kind of sticking their toes in with like the Chicken Littles, the Meet the Robinsons, the Bolts, that stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I don't know how you can have a favorite movie of that decade, but just artistically and the songs and the cultural significance of the first Black Disney princess. I mean, Princess and the Frog is, and I mean, I love that villain song, The Friends on the Other Side. Like, the first 20 minutes of that movie when they're in New Orleans is so tight and awesome. Like, those 20 minutes I think are better than any other movie of that decade alone. You know what I mean? The other one that kind of confused me was Bambi in the 30s and 50s.
I agree.
I for my top three for the 30s and 50s, I had Cinderella, Snow White, and Lady and the Tramp. Those were my big ones. Peter Pan was available too.
Not Pinocchio?
So was Sleeping Beauty. I'm not a big Pinocchio guy. I know people like Pinocchio and Dumbo. I'm not big on those two. I get that they're classics, but you know. And Bambi is also a classic. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm shredding Michelle's picks. Bambi is absolutely a classic, and I think out of the really, really early ones, one of the better ones. But you know, that was just how I viewed it.
Is it wild that I was debating Alice in Wonderland?
With the options that are there, that would have surprised me too. I'm honestly surprised you didn't go with Fantasia. With your 2000s pick, I would have thought you were a big Fantasia fan, which I wouldn't even knock you from.
Fantasia is better than the 2000.
Yeah.
See, I don't. Maybe I'm getting them both confused. I just remember watching Fantasia quite often.
I think Alice in Wonderland would have been a bolder pick that I could have understood more, just because it's so different from everything else that was released that decade or in that era, that I could be like, oh, that's a creative pick, you know?
Yeah. I would have put Fantasia at the top. Like, I would have not been upset if you picked that first from your 30s through 50s.
Got your Sorcerer Mickey out of Fantasia. That's classic, iconic Mickey.
That's the original one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then what's in the 2000 one?
And the brooms.
The 2000 one.
I couldn't tell you.
I never saw it.
That's the problem.
Ooh, I most definitely probably got them both confused, because the broom scene is like what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there's a broom scene in the 2000s one, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
And the music bump, 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 bump.
I love that.
I do want to say though, I think Michelle, for what you were handed in the 80s and the 2010s, I think you kind of nailed it. I think you definitely got the second best pick of the 80s with Fox and the Hound. And Tangled is again, I think Moana's the better movie. Just personally speaking, Tangled is my favorite Disney princess movie.
Would you have said that's the second best of the 2010s?
I had the top... It's between... Yes, I personally would put Tangled above Zootopia, but I do really like Zootopia. I think it gets a little muddled in the 2010s. I don't think there's a clear distinction between a lot of those movies. I think they're all just really, really solid.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 90s, you went with your heart. You were, I would even say, true to your heart by going with Mulan.
Yeah, I love Mulan.
I'm just shocked that Aladdin didn't get picked in this draft.
I am too.
That's the biggest snub.
I knew Michelle was going Mulan. Knew that going in, and I knew Colin.
Yeah, Michelle. Remember when I told you you were making you were gonna make a big mistake.
I was going to ask you what it was
in the 90s. Yeah, because I did not think you were gonna take the Black Cauldron in the 80s. I thought you were gonna avoid that pitfall, but go with the Mulan in the 90s.
I'll be honest, Colin. I almost made a big mistake. I was gonna pick the third pick until I looked at that 80s year, and I was just like, oh wow,
yeah,
I can't believe Little Mermaid is gonna be my first pick.
Yeah, and because I mean, I do think I do think The Little Mermaid is a great movie, and it is the start of the Disney Renaissance. And because of that, it almost feels more like a 90s movie, even though it came out in 89. But
yeah,
it's not, I don't think it's as high as some of these other ones, but just for value, just the decade it's in, you had to go there number one.
I know. It really boosted a lot. Because
I thought maybe you guys would have made a mistake and gone 90s early. And then I could just be like, that's fine. I'll take my number 3 90s and sit on that. But that didn't happen. We all stayed away from the 90s for a long time.
And I was definitely sitting on that 30s through 50s because I knew no one was picking Snow White.
Yeah. You got your number one of that era. You did.
I can't understand the I don't get why. I feel like I'm always alone when I say Snow White is like at the top. I don't know. I mean, you did say Snow White was in your top 3 of those 3 decades. I don't remember if you said it was number 2 or 3.
I think just based on classicness, I was probably going to put it 2, but I enjoy Lady and the Tramp a little bit more personally, but I just think based on classicness, Snow White is, yeah. It was the first.
How do you guys feel about Sleeping Beauty?
I love Sleeping Beauty.
Absolutely love it. Just
good,
because it was so many movies in there, it was just hard for some of these to fight through.
I wouldn't have been upset if you put Sleeping Beauty in the top 3 of that, but then I was like, nah, I don't know. That's just too tough.
It's good. It really is. It's real. That and the 60s and 70s were like the toughest decades for me to pin down because the 60s and 70s just had so many wild cards to it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a clear top 3 for me in the 60s and 70s.
Oh yeah,
which was the ones that were picked.
Yeah, my only regret is, I love Robin Hood. I don't
remember Robin Hood that well, to be honest.
I think it's one of the most underrated movies, like Disney movies. But it does have that issue where it reused like the animations from like the Jungle Book and stuff. Like it was kind of like made on a budget. And so does Aristocats. Yeah. Aristocats does the same thing. I think we have to clear the elephant in the room. Because other than, I guess, Fantasia 2000, Great Mouse Detective, weak. Maybe the weakest pick in the draft, but...
At that point, it's luck of the draw. Whoever gets that first pick, and if they're smart about it and realize that's a tough pill to swallow.
Was there any movie in the 80s we had over Great Mouse Detective?
In all honesty, I don't remember a lot of them. I just remember Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about the 80s is they were so bad that they had to, like, starting with The Little Mermaid, call it the Disney Renaissance because it was like, we're going back to making good movies again.
Yeah.
And that's when you got Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King, and you got the really big hitters.
It's crazy to me that Little Mermaid came before all those like Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and Aladdin. It's just weird to think about.
I mean, that's maybe, other than I guess the 30s to the 50s, that has to be like the strongest stretch of movies. And the 2010s are really strong too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel really good about, I know it was the first pick off the 90s, but I feel really good about taking the Lion King in the 90s. Again, I think it's the number one player on the board, even if it wasn't the number one value pick on the board. I just think it's like the magnum opus of Disney animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely want to argue that. I would take a couple movies as the number one for Disney. I'm sorry guys, but I would put Snow White up there, and Beauty and the Beast I would also put.
Beauty and the Beast is great. It really is. And I mean, Be Our Guest, and I mean, Beauty and the Beast, the song. I mean, the music is, incredible.
Beauty and the Beast has one of the best, if not like one of the best villains.
Gaston's a great villain.
Yeah.
Great villain song. But
granted, I will be honest, I have to watch.
I like the Lion King villain.
The
Lion King villain and the Lion King villain song too, gotta say.
Oh yeah, no, I love Scar too. I do think Lion King is better than Beauty and the Beast. I really have to rewatch a lot of Disney movies from the 40s and 50s though, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot that gets like forgotten about in there.
So do we want to make our final cases as to why we won our draft? Why our team was the best team?
Sure.
Okay. Josh, do you want to go first or? I mean, I can go first if you want me to go first.
Yeah, why don't you start?
I mean, I'm just looking from where I was on my draft board. I got my number one in the 2010s in Moana. I got my number one in Princess and the Frog in the 2000s. I got my number one of the 90s in Lion King. I got my number one of the 30s to 50s in Cinderella. I mean, there's a freaking castle in the middle of Disney World because of Cinderella's castle. No one else's castle. And I got my number one in the 60s to 70s in the 101 Dalmatians. Great Mouse Detective. We don't got to talk about that. All right. Listen, he's going to be off the team soon enough. All right. Don't worry about him. But all of those other movies are bangers, great songs, great villains. I mean, just if we're going song-wise, boom, Moana's songs are incredible, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda himself. Princess and the Frog, they have the jazz, New Orleans jazz music. Unbelievable. Lion King may be the most famous Disney soundtrack there ever has been. Sir Elton John. How many of your guys' movies have music from a knighted human? All right, none. Cinderella, gonna be honest, music-wise isn't great. You got the Cinderella, 9 Dates, Cinderella, not great. But Glass Slipper, the bippity boppity boo. You got the pumpkin turning into the carrot. All of that stuff, so iconic. You have 101 Dalmatians. Name me a better villain song than Cruella de Vil. It gets stuck in your head, and she's terrifying. And Great Mouse Detective, hey, if for nothing else, it's a nice little Sherlock Holmes rip-off story. And you know what? It actually has a pretty okay villain song in that one, too. So when it comes to villain songs, I'm pretty tight. Because Princess and the Frog, Lion King, 101 Dalmatians, and the Great Mouse Detective villain song's pretty good. Check it out, Radigan. So I feel really good about all of my picks.
Strong argument, Colin. There's a little bit of there's a little mistake I found in that argument though. So as great as your draft is, your Team Milk is very strong. However, the main argument I heard for a lot of this of why you have the best team is music.
I mean, essential parts of Disney
correct
movies are the music. When you walk into Disney World, what do you hear? You hear the music. You don't see the animation.
But now
you hear the music playing. And by the way, just to say, Moana, Princess and the Frog, Lion King, I mean, name me 3 better animated movies. Name me a better animated trio than those. Princess and the Frog was the last 2D animated movie they did. That means it was its best. Evolutionarily speaking, it was their best. Lion King visually is outstanding. And I mean, Moana, don't even get me started on that water. Maui's tattoos. The little shiny crab played by Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords. Visually stunning sequences in all those movies. I guess that's my point.
I think we really need to take a deep look into the Snow White visuals and artisticness that came from that movie. Let's just start with the start of Disney. I mean, that's points immediately. You hit the ground running with Snow White. It sets the tone for everything to come. 750 artists, 2 million sketches, I think over. I mean, you look at the work that was put into that for 37. Look, like all those colors, how rich that is. Moana's beautiful, but you got to look at it from when they started. And the Seven Dwarves, let's talk about how hard it probably was to hand draw 7 different personalities, very distinct personalities. And I mean, it really doesn't get more iconic than the Seven Dwarves, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. Do you give me one reason why you don't like Snow White? Because I'm genuinely curious. Both of you seem to like have not a negative view, but like a, I don't know, not as much of an appreciation as I think it deserves.
It's kind of boring.
Okay.
I think it's kind of boring, and I think that it's been surpassed by other Disney princess movies. I think there's a reason there's no Snow White Castle in Disney. And just kind of going back to your first argument about it being the original, I understand, right? Gets points for being the original. However, if we're going to look at Snow White and compare it to Moana, let's just be honest. That's like comparing a Model T to a Maserati. All right. There is no comparison. Just because it came first doesn't mean it's the best.
No, not just because it's first. You have to look at the actual work. I mean, granted, a lot of work goes into Moana in a different way. I think it's a lot harder to make a movie like Snow White than it is Moana. Like 1,000 times harder. Also,
the Snow White, the mine train ride, the line is too long and the ride is too short. So it loses points for me there.
Really?
For sure.
Because
the mine train ride is not that good. I just gotta say, it's not that great. Give me a sec.
Are we really taking rides into consideration with this draft? I think right there. I think if we have to bring Disney World into this draft, I think we already know who lost.
I don't think any of my movies have rides.
No, but you have that castle.
I have the castle, and they are making Splash Mountain into Princess and the Frog, and the Lion King has, which, by the way, I don't want to speak, if we're just sticking to the movies, that's fine. However, Lion King, one of the best-selling Broadway shows of all time. Just saying. I mean, critically acclaimed, been on Broadway forever. It's always sold out. So, just saying that. And also, it's based off of Hamlet, Shakespeare, classic. So, you want to talk about originals? What's really more original, Snow White or, freaking Shakespeare?
I think something that gets overlooked with Disney, I think it gets forgotten about a lot. I don't know why, but when I look at it in terms of all the movies, Winnie the Pooh, I think it's kicked to the curb. And I think that really needs to be brought to attention because those are all like lovable, fantastic characters and extremely popular and iconic. And I think overall, these characters that I have on my team win. I think overall, there's more iconic characters here. You probably have it with let me just look at this. You probably have it with villains, I will say, overall. But when I look at it, all right, so 2010s is a tough one because you don't really think it's that close with Moana, and I really don't think it's that close with Zootopia. I think Zootopia has it with story against Moana. It's not like bad. It's very I think it's a very safe movie. It feels like something I've like seen before. I haven't really seen much of Zootopia. That felt very fresh for Disney. The themes it took, especially coming out of, it was 2016, it was dealing with like minority issues, I think was really a nice route that they took, and which isn't one that I don't really see too much with Disney. The Moana storyline, it feels recycled for me. That's why I thought Zootopia was the clear winner. Now I have to see Tangled again, so I can't really speak on that.
I mean, I just have to jump in and defend Moana a little bit. Yeah, I mean, sure. Zootopia deals with race relations, but I think you'll see, and maybe it's not fair to do this, but we have another movie on tap that we're going to review soon. I think you're going to see it's not that original once we watch this next movie. That's going to be a regular episode. But as far as Moana, I mean, Moana deals with, the arguments of globalism versus nationalism. I mean, they don't want to leave. They want to stay isolated. I mean, what's more of a present discussion than that right now? The idea of globalism triumphing, that we're stronger if we leave our borders behind and go out and find resources and find other people elsewhere, which, sure, is in a lot of different movies. Just off the top of my head, Pocahontas, and even not even Disney movies, but How to Train Your Dragon deals with that too. Still, I think it's still an important theme, and I won't hear this slander. And it has The Rock. Thank you.
So that's you bring up a good point. It's Pocahontas in the ocean.
No. Oh no. No. It is not.
When
just
you break
Pocahontas.
it down no. It's not just Pocahontas. When you break it down like that, though, you basically just said it's a recycled Pocahontas.
No.
With better visuals.
It is not Pocahontas. Oh no. I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. Pocahontas is nothing like Moana.
No, your words, not mine.
I mean, we're close to the
your
same
words,
movie.
not mine. You were just talking about leaving.
They're not even. You said Pocahontas. I didn't say Pocahontas. I said How to Train Your Dragon.
Nope. If we play it back, you'll hear me say Pocahontas, and you follow it right back with Pocahontas. You did say Pocahontas.
Oh my god! You said my words, not yours. You're the one who put the words in the first place.
We said Pocahontas at the same time, Colin.
Well, depending on who's editing this episode, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I do have to say, though, Winnie the Pooh was a great pick. I just read a book about the Taoism of Pooh, and it's absolutely fascinating. And just the philosophical and aspects of Winnie the Pooh, it's way more layered than I think most of these movies, if not all of these movies. I think it might be the most like the characters and everything. It is absolutely nuanced and layered. Great characters, great movie. There was another Pooh movie in the 2010s that I hadn't seen but was very well reviewed that I thought might have a shot of sneaking in there. But I mean, I can't say anything bad about Winnie the Pooh. I mean, I can't. I'll fight against Snow White. I can't fight against Winnie the Pooh. And Zootopia, I can't fight against Winnie the Pooh. I can't. It's a great movie.
I did see the 2011 version. I haven't seen it in a little bit, but I mean, I'm very partial to Winnie the Pooh, so I never really see them make anything bad when it's like a new.
Yeah, they don't.
I mean,
they always make something. Every show they make is good.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
will say this though: if you want to get into rides, the ride for Winnie the Pooh is not great.
No,
it's not good.
I think Did they take away Snow White for that ride, or no?
I don't know.
Mr. Toad. It was one of the two.
So yeah, Zootopia and Moana. We're not going to see eye to eye. We both think it's the number one. But we can admit that it's. Well, I don't even know if you're going to say it's pretty close, but.
No, I agree it's close. In the 2010s, yeah.
And then 2000s is such a weak year. I was able to sneak by with a solid pick.
It's okay. There's a gap, but it's okay.
There is a gap. You win with Princess and the Frog. However, I don't think it's as bad as it could have been. I think Emperor's New Groove is still a solid movie. 90s, you have it with Lion King, but it's extremely close. I mean, we already established the elephant in the room. The 80s is where it runs, because 60s and 70s. I personally like Winnie the Pooh more than Dalmatians. I think it's better. But we both picked very iconic classic films.
I think 30s and 50s and 60s and 70s are really close,
Yeah.
especially the 30s and 50s, just because those are like the two princess movies. Like those are the two, right?
So you have to look at like 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, how close they really are, and then you have to look at that 80s. That's what really throws the dagger in it.
Taking that number one pick kills. You
made a great argument, but in my eyes, I don't know that it's the 80s that really killed you. If you had a movie like If you had like Tarzan in the 80s, you would have won.
All right, can I defend Great Mouse Detective a little bit?
You can.
I don't want to. I want to hear what Michelle has to say, because we've been...
You want to hear what I have to say, like who I think won?
I want you to defend your team and then tell me who you think won. With your all honesty.
Yeah, sorry, Colin, I kind of went at it a little bit.
Oh, I mean, I don't need to defend my team. I know that I made some mistakes here. So, yeah, I think Fantasia was a big mistake. And there were probably definitely a lot better movies than Bambi that I should have picked instead. And some other mistakes I made too. But I don't think I have to defend my team. I know that I lost.
I mean, I do think Mulan is strong in the 90s, even if it's not a top 3 for me. I think it is really strong.
It is. The 90s is a very tough decade to like distinguish what's like, you know, that's like a top 5. That's like really close.
Yeah. Mulan is great. I love Mulan. But like Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, you guys are right. You're just right. You both have quite convincing arguments, I have to say. It's really tough because you each sort of beat each other in different decades. So it's hard to decide who wins by the smallest margin.
Would you say a mouse-sized margin?
I would.
Now, let me just put one interjection in here.
Okay.
When I was wrapping up with my argument, it kind of sounded like to me, Colin knew that there was a defeat that occurred.
No. That is not what that was. That was me admitting that Great Mouse Detective was the weakest part of probably maybe anyone's draft. But my point is, all the rest of my picks, I got my number 1 in every single era.
So here's what I think. I think the 2010s, I think he beat you, Josh, with Moana. I just think Moana's better. 2000s, he definitely beat you with The Princess and the Frog. 90s, The Lion King, of course. 80s, I mean, Josh, you blew it out of the park, for sure. The 60s to the 70s is so tough. It's so tough. Oof. That's the one I'm really not sure of. And 30s, 40s, and 50s, I think Colin won with Cinderella.
Ooh, yikes.
So it's looking I won 4 out of the 6, and then what would you say the 60s and 70s, maybe a draw or a toss-up?
A toss-up. Mm-hmm.
Really? Cinderella over Snow White?
I mean,
like a better
really
movie?
I definitely watch Snow White more.
That baffles me. That's like...
For sure, I watch Snow White more. But, now you got me thinking. Because Snow White was closer to my heart, but I have this gut, like, I just feel like Cinderella is better.
Let me just... Forget the castle. Forget the castle. The castle means nothing. The castle in Disney means nothing. Forget Disney World. Let's really...
Okay, wait. All right, let's talk about Snow White for a second. It's creepy. She's asleep. He kisses her. But Cinderella, she is lifted into a new level of society. It's empowering almost, you know? And it's not just because he loves her. It's because she was true. And she was the only person there who was the right fit. Also, they made a live-action Cinderella, and it had the guy that plays Rob Stark, and that's a handsome dude. He was the prince in that. I mean, handsome.
Very, very. Mm-hmm.
Snow White just has better characters. It's not even close. You have a better princess. That's about it.
I would agree with you, Josh.
Okay, your characters are literally one-dimensional. The dwarves are one dimension.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that hurts it. I think
Gus. I mean. What are you going to do, Gus the mouse?
I believe even you said your characters are not that great.
Mean, come on. No, I never said that. I would have never said that about Cinderella.
See, I think it's...
I don't know. I think your movie's a little creepy.
See, it is. And that's what's great about it. I'm being serious. Like, it works on so many different levels. Like, it is creepy at a lot of points.
I just looked up the Cinderella on Wikipedia, and the poster, the poster says, greatest since Snow White. So they're literally compared to each other ever since Cinderella came out. This is how old this rivalry is.
And let me just... Winnie the Pooh is better. Winnie the Pooh is better than 101 Dalmatians. You got a better villain, that's it. I mean, I even think Colin defended Winnie the Pooh better than he did 101 Dalmatians. There's
I
a
didn't
reason.
really say much about 101 Dalmatians because there's nothing.
Let's talk about the Renaissance of Disney with Little Mermaid. There's a reason that happened.
No, you're not going to get anywhere with that. We already know you won the 80s.
No. See, it's not about winning the 80s, okay? It's about winning by an extreme margin. So yeah, Michelle might have thought you beat me in the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, but by how much, right? Like a point or like a half a point? Because I think two of those are pretty close. 2000s, you got me. 2010s, I think I won, really not close, but Michelle thinks I lost, which is fine. But clearly, there's a pretty close battle there. 90s, Lion King might be better, but Beauty and the Beast, people would argue, is better than Lion King.
Wait, hold on. I'm just processing what you said earlier about the characters in Cinderella. Are you crazy? What are you talking about? Oh, the evil stepsisters and the evil stepmother are so memorable.
No. I'm talking about your buddies. The
fairy godmother. I mean, probably... Can you name a more influential and important sidekick character than the fairy godmother? She literally transforms everything around her. Who doesn't want a fairy godmother? I'll tell you what, I want a fairy godmother over 7 little freaks who make me do me do their chores.
You are forgetting the queen in Snow White. Okay,
you're forgetting about the evil stepmother.
Oh no, I'm not. I think
Cinderella.
the queen is by far better than the stepmother. I do. And you got
no. The queen is all like, oh, powerful, I'm the fairest of them all, blah blah blah. Lady Tremaine is psychologically damaging. She destroys Cinderella's confidence, and Cinderella has to take that entire movie to build it back up to a point where she can finally accept herself for who she truly is, a princess. Thank you. Rags to riches story. What is Snow White? Riches to riches story? Oh, wow. Incredible. I mean...
How much do you think Cinderella really beats Snow White?
The rich get richer. I think it's close, but I think it does. I think it gets the job done. I'm telling you right now, you ask me what movie I'm watching tonight between if I have to pick Snow White or Cinderella, I'm picking Cinderella 1,000 times.
Michelle, what do you like better? Because I heard Snow White.
Gus. I mean, how do you beat Gus? Dopey. Dopey sucks. Grumpy. He's literally a dick. Excuse me?
And by the way...
Sneezy.
You're
going to pick... Hold on. You're going to pick Snow White with Sneezy in the era of COVID?
Grumpy, I believe, is... So you say they're one-dimensional. I believe someone turns a new leaf at the end, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He's an asshole.
But is he at the end?
Yeah. They're murderers, by the way. The dwarves are straight up murderers. That's unsettling. So they're one-dimensional murderers.
Colin's really reaching here. I don't know.
I don't think I am. I think it's pretty clear that the dwarves make Snow White do their shit for them. And like, there's the creepy necrophilia thing at the end, whereas Cinderella is completely consensual in every way.
And Colin, I was more so talking about your side characters, the objects.
It's so tough because the queen in Snow White is superior to the evil stepmother.
Oh, you're out of your mind.
But a lot of other things in Cinderella might be superior to Snow White.
I'm just thinking of, I hate to bring it back to the parks again, because when the villain's float goes by, okay, listen, we all know who's at the top. It's Maleficent. I mean, there's no debating that. She's the queen of all queen Disney villains. But the evil stepmother and the queen are always kind of on like the same level on the float, which means Disney places a similar level of importance on those two characters. And if you're saying you know more than Walt Disney, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
By the way, with the queen, you got 2 characters, okay?
That old hag.
The terrifying old lady. Come on.
Boring. Done better in Tangled. Sorry. I don't think it's right that we're putting Michelle in this position. I just want to say that.
Yeah, I don't either.
You both, I mean, very well done with your arguments. I expected nothing less. Man, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
I mean, we can just kind of let, listeners decide too. We don't have to make Michelle the deciding vote.
As hard as this decision is, I honestly think that this hurts a little bit. I honestly think that Colin won by the smallest margin.
We saw that coming.
Oh, feels so good.
Hey, well.
Listen, Josh. When you took Cinderella in number 1, I was shitting bricks.
Wait, you mean Little Mermaid?
Well, yeah, what did I say?
Cinderella.
Yeah, when you took Little Mermaid in the 80s, I was like, uh-oh, he knows what he's doing in this draft.
There's a reason Colin thought that, because he knew no matter what else I picked, I'd probably win. But Michelle kind of messed that up for me.
It's
No, I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
I'm sticking with my decision.
I don't agree with that. Like, just because you got Little Mermaid, you won. But I do think that's such a great way to start off your draft. And then I really do think you got great picks for the rest. I just think I got more number 1s on my side, and then The Great Mouse Detective, which is, not great. No, not so great movie. It's fine. It's not that bad. I'm making it sound like it's garbage. It's not. It's really not a terrible movie. People should go watch
and
it.
That's what should be looked at. Colin has a very average movie in his lineup. There isn't one weak point in my team.
Yeah,
there's actually
all my other ones are so
they're actually all
good.
fantastic except for one, and that one is actually still pretty good.
I've got the 5.
So I think
I've got 5 number 1s. I've got the 5 best position players, and then 1 sucky punter. I can live with that.
I think the Little Mermaid victory counts as 3 or 4 wins, to be honest, because that's how far of a difference.
The Little Mermaid pick is nothing short of a stroke of genius. I mean, it really was the best. It was the best pick of the draft. I can't even deny that.
I encourage you guys to just read more about Snow White when this episode is over. I encourage it, because you will see just how wrong you guys are.
And remember, if you liked that episode, please give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram at Millennial Milkshake, on Twitter at MilkBasedPod, and on Snapchat at MilkshakePod. We have a Facebook as well, Millennial Milkshake there. You can also find new episodes every single Tuesday on wherever you're listening to us right now, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. We're on all of them pretty much. You can also follow our individual social medias if you're, into that kind of thing. I am at The Last Call on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. That's call spelled COL. Michelle is at Michelle Thoughts on Instagram. That's thoughts spelled the way you think. And Josh is on Instagram at Joshy_124. Joshy spelled with an IE. Well, I was kind of hoping that this episode would go over well, and I'm really glad that you guys were really into it. And I don't know, maybe we can do another topic sometime?
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I don't know should we end it like a regular episode, or should we just declare Colin the winner of this draft?
I think Michelle's thinking it over, but that's all right.
All right, so let's end it quick before you change your mind. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining all of us.
And stay creamy. Or whipped.